everybody! Welcome to another episode of 10 Forward Weekly, and I'm very excited about all of this, but I'm mostly excited because I get to see Jesse Heinig! Hello!
Greetings. Good to see you
I feel like I
too.
haven't talked to you in forever, dude. It is so good to see
I
you.
know. Yeah.
How are you
Oh, it's
doing?
fantastic. I'm doing great. I'm really happy with the work that we are doing. Things are going well. And I'm excited to see how this new playtest of Bug Hunt goes
Yeah.
today
This is
so
a
that
playtest. It's
people can
live
experiment.
already.
Well,
it
I don't know if it's new for you with all the
is.
features
It
that we
is
put in.
wildly new
And
for me. Yeah.
for a lot of people out there that haven't played it yet, this since the feast has gone live, these features will be new.
Yeah, so let's
So,
talk about that a little bit. What was
yeah.
the sort of design goals when approaching Bug Hunt and trying to update it to like a modern audience?
Okay, so Bug Hunt's already a very solid TFO. It has a good amount of time. It's pretty straightforward. The map is not easy to get lost on. There's plenty of things to shoot, and your goals are very straightforward. You know, move from room to room, wiping out bugs, because obviously we've got some homage to a certain other science fiction property in there. Um, and so this was really a matter of sort of bringing it up to some of our modern standards, doing things like making sure that if there's an optional objective like defeating the alarm bugs, that this is called out, so you know, oh, I should be paying attention to that. Making sure that the number of marks that you get for the amount of time that's played is competitive compared to many of our other current TFOs, and doing a lot of general polish, looking at places where people could get stuck or something just didn't look quite right, and saying, oh, we could do that a little bit better, because as one half of the feast event alongside the swarm, we want this to get a little bit of attention, a little bit of love, and feel like something that people can play and go, okay, yeah, this stands up with the other content that STO has.
Neat. And so, what you mentioned, calling out the alarm bugs as an optional objective. What other changes
Hmm.
did you go through and make to the mission as a whole?
Well, the alarm bugs actually matter now. In the original implementation, alarm bugs are an optional objective that just gets you bonus marks if you destroy enough of them as you make your way through. But now the alarm bugs actually signal for reinforcements if you don't stop them in time.
Whoa.
So, yeah, if you let an alarm bug go, then it will call for reinforcements, and when it finishes its progress bar, additional enemies will spawn in. And if you are already in the middle of tangling with spawns in a room, this could be a little bit troublesome for you. And of course, if you're playing on Elite, they are still a mandatory objective. You must defeat 3 alarm bugs or you will fail the TFO.
Dun, dun, dun.
Um, the alarm bugs, you'll notice they have a little icon pointing them out. But now, instead of alarm bugs appearing in the middle of fights that you're already in, which are really messy and everyone's throwing around powers, so it's hard to see what's going on,
Yeah.
alarm bugs typically are situated before you get to an encounter and they move to that encounter. So you come into a room, you'll spot an alarm bug, it'll have a big arrow saying, you got to shoot this guy, and it starts running off. And as you're chasing it, you may trigger the next encounter spawn. And then if it gets to the end of its path and you don't defeat it, it will bring in additional reinforcements.
Got it.
For most players, this shouldn't be a problem, but it makes it so that the alarm bugs actually feel like they're doing some alarming. They're serving as guards for the hive. There's a story connection to why they're out there and what they're doing and how that impacts the players. Um, as you proceed through the hive finding successive alarm bugs, they get faster at running their path and calling for help. So it's to your advantage to make sure that you catch those early ones that are easy to catch. The very first one is out in the open, moves really slowly. If a group focuses fire on it, you can burn it down pretty quick. That one is there to show you how it works. Once you've got that sorted, pay attention for this icon, kill those bugs first.
Nice, nice. Any other non-alarm bug related changes we can expect?
Absolutely. We wanted to do a little more messaging. So, for instance, there's 2 parts of the map where you have to drop down into a hole, into a lower level in the hive. And this is really unintuitive. A lot of Star Trek Online maps are built so that if you're going up or down, you're using a stairway or a turbo lift or a ramp. Dropping down into a hole is uncommon. It's not unheard of throughout the game, but it's a little odd. And Players who worry about, am I going to take falling damage, might run up to the side of a ledge and look down and go, that can't be right. Where am I supposed to go? And get lost. So I've added indicators that show you, no, this is where you're supposed to go. Here's an arrow pointing at this hole in the ground. There's a target down at the bottom. Jump down there and proceed. Um, Little helpers like that to make it easier for people to know, okay, yes, I'm going the right way. There's a specific exploit that I dealt with too. In one of the rooms, you have to run up to a ledge and jump down to get to the next chamber. And some players would speed through this room and ignore all of the bugs in it and just jump down the ledge to the next room and then start fighting the group down there. If you do this now, the bugs in the previous room will follow you.
Wow.
We also did little bits of polish. For instance, Lieutenant Vanderveer places explosives throughout the map in order to blow up rocks and knock down obstacles so that you can proceed. But previously, he would just play a little animation of manipulating something and then say, fire in the hole, and run back and detonate them. Now he actually plants an explosive that you can see. Um, so again, it's just a piece of polish that makes it so that it feels like, oh, they actually spent a little bit of time on this, and these things make sense in the context of the events that are happening. It's not a miracle explosion that happens out of nothing because Vanderveer fiddled with the air.
He has magic explosion fingers, Jesse. Don't take his magic
Right,
explosion fingers away from him.
right. That's got to be a power for one of our upcoming specializations or traits, right? Magic explosion fingers.
Yeah.
That is purely a joke, Internet. We don't discuss upcoming content.
I've seen a couple people posting about the Praetor, which we announced last week, and some people have correctly noted went live today without a blog. After we announced it last week on the stream, quite a few of you noted that the ship was not didn't look the same as it did in its appearance in Strange New Worlds, because the reference that we had been given by Paramount turned out was not the most accurate and up-to-date reference we could get for the ship, and so we built it based on what we were given, and then it turned out what aired was slightly different in a few key ways, and so the art had to be remade. There will be a blog explaining the ship tomorrow. I just haven't, in between the art getting to me, I haven't quite had time to be putting all the whole blog together as it should be. That'll happen tonight after this stream. PVT Felix 1986. I assume that you are the same person who tweets about this constantly. I can't see us ever putting a for sale or any other way the ability for players to purchase skins of characters from Star Trek. Like, you couldn't ever purchase a Data skin or a Worf skin or something like that, because that's not really the point of Star Trek Online. Star Trek Online is about you creating your own captain and having your own adventure, as opposed to playing as a character from Star Trek. If we ever made a Star Trek game in the future, that might change, but for this particular one, that's not the case.
Not to mention the licensing issues. Not every actor signed away their likeness rights to
Yes,
Paramount and
that too.
CBS when they appeared in Star Trek, which means we'd have to individually negotiate with a bunch of people for a lot of money.
Yeah. So no. Oh, that's interesting. My sorry, somebody pointed out that my headset audio was kind of crappy. It's because it was coming to the wrong mic entirely. Apologies for that, folks. Now you should be hearing me much better. Yeah, or just make an alien gen character and make it look like them. You can do that if you want to be, Thomas Riker the Third. Yes, John Pandorf, you are correct. The feast will be coming to console after the winter event. But before we dive in and take a look at Bug Hunt and all the lovely changes you've made, Jesse, let's take a quick look at some of the fan art we got this week.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, ID Gaming Federation sent us this picture of a Ferengi and a Borg stuck in on the brig in Deep Space Nine, which he labeled a fate worse than bankruptcy. Max Procheska sent us this shot of his not Excalibur. What's the name of that? Wow, my brain is blanking on one of the most legendary ships in Star Trek.
Excelsior?
Excelsior, thank you.
Must adjust my glasses.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. I'll get it. People in chat will start jumping on me any second. Parker Stone, the Praetor model shown last week is not getting thrown away. If you haven't already acquired the Praetor, you don't already know this, but it'll be made clear in the blog tomorrow. If you get the Praetor, you can use the skin that appeared last week, or the skin the skin that is actually accurate to the show. And I believe you can customize between them, but don't quote me on that. You can definitely switch back and forth between them. All right. Oliver Roger, I'll just answer this one really quick, even though it has nothing to do with what we're talking about tonight. When we create NPCs that are based off of Trek actors, a lot of the times, like in the case of Captain Janeway, the hair is created with the head. It's all one piece. So it's not an easy thing to just pluck the hair off and make it player available. But I will ask the character team again if there's any hairs or things they have that they can make player appropriate easier.
Yeah,
Let's
with the
see.
caveat that I'm not a character artist,
Nope.
my understanding is that the NPC critters get, if it's an actor from the show, they get a custom head sculpt. So they will often have very distinct points of features that might be hard to model with just using the sliders in the engine. And that means that the attachment points for things like hair and accessories have to be customized as well.
Yep. Charles Stromwall, hybrid characters of two different races is something you probably should just make in the Alien Gen. Let's see. Rafa Casper, Jesse does not make ships. You can bribe Jesse to give you an 8 experimental weapon slot ship, but he can't do that. That's not what
Right?
he does.
Yeah, I've never made a ship in Stowe. In fact,
uh,
I'm the only person who has worked on the systems team who has not done so, I think.
oh, really? You should make a ship
Wait,
just for
wait,
fun.
no, 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 no. We've got one other person who's just learning how right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Folks, if there's bugs or issues you're encountering, send us. Remember to post those on the forums. Menth, I'm looking at you, buddy. All right, Trexpert sent us this series of shots of his brand new starship. This is looking really cool. Nice job, Trexpert. And then he also sent us this video that he made in demo record, where he has replaced the emergency medical hologram character with the test character that sometimes appears on the random edges of maps if you fly out there. So enjoy a weird hulking red robot doing medicine.
Hmm.
All right. DRK Ganon, it's not about whether the character artists expect or don't expect. It's about how much time the two character artists who work on our game have to make stuff and what demands are on their time. All right. Let us go and dive into the game. So here we are. And let's go take a look at Bug Hunt. Jesse, are you seeing everything okay?
I am.
Great. Actually, I'm going to launch this from the event window just for the fun of it.
Sure.
I don't know what difference that would be, but
None
Rafa
whatsoever
Casper
in
says
theory.
super hot. Super hot. I love that game.
Swallogram.
Swallogram. I like that.
Yeah.
PVT Felix, we are aware of that one and working on it. When do we get a nice pocket nuke to shove down those bug holes? You guys have enough war crime weapons already.
Too true. Save the pocket nuke for Fallout, which someone on stream asked me when I'm going to recreate Fallout 1. Sorry, Mang, but wrong company.
You should just recreate Fallout 1 entirely within Star Trek Online as a single TFO. You can do that, right? That sounds easy.
I could. There are many things that I could do. You know, I could like slam my fingers in the door. I could,
Yeah,
take a hammer to my favorite bookshelf.
but but don't do
Yeah,
that.
unlikely.
Yeah. All right, here we are. Cool. Thanks, John. All right. Hello, team.
Oh yes, and we We did lock you down during the briefing period because that's considered standard practice these days, but the briefing period was reduced from 1 minute to 45 seconds, so slightly less standing around. And
Oh,
the
there's the
main
alarm
reason
bug.
that we have that briefing period, because people I'm sure ask, like, why do you have this, like, almost a minute long wait at the beginning where we can't do anything? It's because we can't guarantee that everyone's going to load into the map at the same time. Some people have slow computers, some people have unstable connections. We need a little bit
Yeah.
of time to make sure that everyone gets loaded in.
Want to make sure everybody can play, and y'all haven't finished, your Borg TFO before anybody even gets there.
Right? I've warped into that before.
Oh, I missed his beautiful new explosion art. Yeah, I guess the obstacle's clear. Dang, son. Wow, we are murdering the bugs before I can even the alarm bugs before I can even see them. Good work, everyone.
Well, the core of this TFO has been out for a while, so people are pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Um, I briefly considered making it so that the explosions, when he blows up the rocks, would actually do damage to people, but we don't do friendly fire. It's kind of friendly game.
Yeah,
So
I,
it's like,
I I don't know. I still feel like if I got a knockback from the explosion, I wouldn't,
mm,
you know, I wouldn't be too mad about
right,
that.
right. Just flings
I'm
you
gonna
back
I'm
onto
gonna
your butt
stare
in
right
the.
at this explosion. Cool guys don't look at explosions. All right, time to use the bug exterminator mode on this gun. We need a way to skip briefings. No, you don't. Did you not hear what we just said about why briefings exist? If anything has more than 4 legs, nuke 'em. That seems unnecessarily legist, sir.
Hmm.
Uh-oh. More bugs came while we were exploding things. Hey, you. Have you met my minigun? So Jesse, I'm the interviewer here, but I'm also playing the mission. So as you see things that are new and
Yeah.
exciting, please call them out.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
As you can see, there's the UI elements now that show you where to go. So even though it's a far enough drop that you'll take a little bit of falling damage, okay, yes, I'm supposed to go here. This is not a mistake.
No explosion, no damage from standing next to a bomb, but a little bit of damage from falling off a cliff.
Yeah. Why not? Um, the this room had some collision issues actually, and I'm not going to belabor the point, but there were some walls that you could get stuck in and things like that. And so our environment team also did a pass on this, and our environment lead Scott went through to fix up those issues.
Nice. What I know you said you're not going to belabor the point, but this is actually an informative stream where people love hearing the behind-the-scenes talk. So what caused those sort of collision issues?
In this particular case, we had multiple assets along one of the walls. Some of them were decorative, like big plant type things, and some of them were just big rock um, that accidentally got put in a group that had been flagged to not have a collision. And this meant that you could walk through it, so you could see it, but you could just walk through it as if it wasn't there. But then you don't see what's on the other side because you're inside of this thing that you can walk through but not see through. And that means that if you wind up like going over some other rock or around a corner behind it, but you can't see where you're going, you may not be able to figure out how to get out. And that's obviously pretty bad. So Scott removed a couple of pieces and then fixed the collision on some others. He also put in a little bit of collision around the area where you drop the bridge um, to make it less likely for people to jump off into the chasm. And while I am all for players jumping off into chasms if they want to, we don't want Vanderveer jumping off into the chasm and getting stuck and then breaking the TFO.
PVT Felix, I cannot do anything about those particular kinds of complaints right now on stream, but please file a support ticket. Go to support.arcgames.com. Don't just use the in-game report function, and hit me up on Twitter or somewhere and let me know where the ticket number, and I'll follow up. All right. Apparently, the stream is super laggy for folks. I'm not entirely sure why that is. It may just be the sheer number of effects happening on the screen. I'm not sure. I don't have anything extraneous running, so
Yeah, could just be internet today.
yeah.
Maybe Twitter broke something again.
All right. We'll deal with the spawn, mother.
Someone was asking any plans to remake Cure Ground, Infected Ground, Kittimer Ground, since we did revamps on the space. So I'll talk about that while you're moving to the spawn mother.
Okay.
With old ground maps, they use a different system for generating the terrain on the map than we do currently.
Sorry, before we got on the stream, Jesse had talked about how the spawn mother had been given more health so that she would last longer against you guys.
And smoked.
We're gonna need to maybe increase that some more.
Why not?
Yeah. Oh. Good job, everyone. Adam Shaw and I did appreciate your Star Trek Trooper references.
What I could do if I really was feeling spicy is make it so that she has scaling damage resistance that goes up the faster she's taking damage. So if you come in and you just start burning the heck out of her, she just starts resisting all the damage.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, updating old ground maps. Very old maps like Cure Ground used a different terrain modeling system than we currently use in the game. And redoing those maps means redoing all of that ground terrain, and that is at least a 6-week job for an environment artist. It is something that is a huge undertaking. So before we revisit things like Cure, Kittimer, and Infected Ground, we would need a battle plan for what we're going to do in terms of making a brand new map, because it's not going to be the same ground map. It's going to be something rebuilt, remade, and something that takes less than half an hour to 45 minutes to complete.
Yeah, kind of like
effectively like making a new TFO from scratch.
Which is what you guys did with what was the DS9 TFO? My brain has forgotten the name, but
Forged in Fire.
Forged in Fire. Yep.
Yeah, where we rebuilt the assault on Terok Nor into Forged in Fire, and that too was a case of, okay, we have a different map for DS9 now, so let's use that map instead. But in this case, the map already existed. It still took environment art time because the map that we had built was for the episodes that we made for the Gamma Quadrant, but the new TFO needed to always support 5 players and large fights, and so the play spaces had to be changed in order to account for what the TFO was going to be doing. So even that wasn't free. It wasn't just, oh, copy paste these maps. We had to take the maps and adjust them to make them fit.
Yeah. Someone said we could make them as part of a new Borg arc, and yeah, that's sort of what you've hit on. If we were going to do something like that, it would be something that we would do if we were doing a new like Borg story arc or something that lent itself to that. Like the Mirror arc lent itself to Forged in Fire. John Davis 1, we have been working on reducing some of the effects throughout the game, so I'm glad you're noticing. There's more to come on that, though.
And yes, even though Bordicus is moving to a different team, Kurland will always be here.
Yes, always, 100% of the time. Someday we'll get Jeremy a SAG card, and then we'll do a 4-hour Kurland monologue.
That would be amazing. I'll pitch in $20.
Yeah. Nathan Tyrants Tyson, that's definitely something to go to support.arcgames.com and ask them for it. Let's see. Trexpert, I'm not gonna ask Jesse that question because I'm sorry, there is no chance the Foundry will return. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't drink, but porting the old Foundry to console would involve me going and getting a bottle of something very stiff and pouring several fingers of that and starting from there.
And I've seen what alcohol does to you. Jesse would actually die before the Foundry was ported to console.
Yeah.
Let's see. That's an interesting question, Jesse. I don't know if you worked on endeavors. I think that was a Jeremy thing, but apparently for things that need to be killed, there's a like percent damage amount instead of just being able to hit them once, which sometimes leads to super DPS people like the folks we just had in that TFO, murdering things before people can get the endeavor. Do you know if that's the case?
So there is some code buried in our engine that is supposed to handle. Unfortunately, what it's supposed to handle is exploit conditions. If you've ever gone into a Borg red alert, say, and then one ship zooms around, blows up all the Borg, and then leaves, and then you get no credit for completing the red alert, what you've run into is this exploiter code that is supposed to say everyone needs to participate in some way. You have to carry your weight at least a certain amount. This isn't something that's set up by the designers. It's set up by our software team. And so we're constantly sort of looking at those numbers and trying to tweak them to hit that sweet spot of you can't just AFK through a TFO or a red alert, but we don't want it to be so high of a bar that people who are playing non-performant characters get completely smoked out by DPS chasers and are unable to get credit for doing things. So that's a constant balancing act. It's a real tightrope,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
for sure. Oliver Roger, just as a heads up, so like a couple of weeks ago, I said, "Hey, would you guys pay for ships that were ships that already existed but had Borg components strapped to them?" And there was an overwhelming like, "Yeah, definitely, we would love to do that." When I ask questions like that, it's because a conversation has happened in the team. When specifically I say, "Would you guys pay for this?" or "Would you guys enjoy this?" But there's been a conversation with the team. But if we're at the point where I'm asking for player feedback on the idea, it means that we are, if the idea is even going forward, and I'm not sure that one is because it doesn't sound like Thomas is super enthusiastic about the idea. Um, uh, we would be years away from you guys getting an update on it. So sorry about that. Take it as the hypothetical as it could. All right. There's lots of fun questions coming in, but not a lot of questions that are aimed for Jesse. And I don't want to make you sit in silence while I say no comment over and over. So, do you want to hop on and we can run something together?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Fragrance
What do you
Free
feel like
Vaseline would pay
playing?
for the whale probe, but he's the only one. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I'd get it for free. All right, loading into holodeck.
Arcane Flame Pony is requesting that you take that defense scaling and put it on the V-Rexes in the Dyson Battle Zone because people are camping them and smoking them.
They're getting smoked really fast before anyone can get there and get credit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were any tweaks made to Swarm? I actually don't know the answer to that question. Jesse, were any tweaks made to
Nope.
Swarm?
Swarm
Okay.
is a newer TFO than Bug Hunt, and so we felt like this can probably stand on its own. It had good visual messaging, and the marks that it awards were pretty consistent with our current material. Plus, there's still some outstanding Klingon recruits out there who need to finish their complete Swarm 5 times, so this is an opportunity for them to actually get it to pop.
Oh yeah, good call.
So, yeah, we figured that would go. Anyway, the marks on normal mode of bug hunt went up from a base of 15 to a base of 45 because I wanted it to feel like even if you totally fumbled it and you didn't get any of the optional objectives, you still at least got something worth your time.
Yeah. uh, uh,
Loading.
John Davis 01 is asking if we're going to be doing changes to quote other TFOs. I mean, yes. As the opportunities
Hmm.
come up, we like remastering stuff. But you know, on the time schedule that it takes.
We routinely have internal direction discussions about okay, when this story's over, what's the next thing we do? Do we do another big story? Do we do a series of isolated stories? Do we finally take the time to go back and redo a bunch of our older content? And these are all valid directions, and a lot of it is determined partly by what the team's excited about, partly by what CBS and Paramount is doing with the franchise. If they go, hey, we're going to have a big new storyline that we want to thread through all of our Star Trek IP media, and obviously we're going to get on board with that. If they go, we're going to kind of have a lull, and then there'll be some new content a year and a half down the road, might be time for us to revisit some of our older stuff and make it new again.
Yeah.
Um, but again, we don't discuss upcoming content partly because we can't predict the future. And some of these decisions are out of our hands. When CBS says, hey, we just did this thing in a show and we'd love you to put it in. Okay, we would love to contribute that. We just need to put it on our schedule.
Yep.
Resources aren't infinite. As one famous Trek person said, time is the fire in which we burn. And that's very true for game developers.
It's so true. Oh. Let's see. There was a question
Speaking
that
of, do I owe you any blogs, Mike?
I don't think so, but
Because I always send them late, so I'm constantly burning you on time there.
it's even worse when I ask for them late. Why doesn't STO have advertisements like Star Trek Fleet Command? STO is far superior and deserves cool advertisements too. I agree. The reason that we don't have advertisements like Star Trek Fleet Command is because the company that makes Star Trek Fleet Command has, I think the number is actually literally billions of dollars that they can use for things like getting Michelle Yeoh and I forgot names of I've all Sonequa Martin Green to come and do
Right.
commercials. That was me not just forgetting Sonequa Martin Green's name, that was me forgetting the names of every Star Trek actor I knew.
Wow.
Uh,
But yeah, we're an older operation. Star Trek Online's been around for 13 years, and Cryptic is kind of a scrappy studio compared to a massive mobile studio like something that does mobile games through Twitter or whatnot. Um, I'm not going to name names, but that means that our budget and our resources are basically contrasted with that. And so the things that we do are small, focused stories that are based on the kinds of content that a small group of really enthusiastic Star Trek fans are able to deliver.
yeah, exactly. Um, I Red Drop 74. I believe the answer to your question is yes. We have decided what the next story arc is going to be, but I don't know how many details are locked down about that yet. The Trexpert wants to know, Jesse, when you started with STO, in all honesty, did you see STO being as strong as it's running heading into year 13?
Um, so Well, again, we can never predict the future. When I started on STO, you got to remember that it was in a lull period between Star Trek properties. The JJ movie for 2009 had just come out, but there hadn't been any shows on TV since Enterprise. And it didn't look like there were going to be any shows in the near term of the future. There was no talk about that in science fiction channels. So we were basically making a show that was mining an existing property that was done. And So from that perspective, and the fact that Star Trek was not and was never going to be a World of Warcraft killer, um, it was really set up to be like a mid-size MMO that had the legs of being a franchise that was made by people who really loved Star Trek. Um, and So once CBS announced, hey, we're doing new shows, that was a huge, huge deal for us because now there would be new content, there would be new stories, new stuff for us to get really excited about. Um, and it would bring new people into Star Trek as well, not just folks who are like, oh, I used to watch DS9 when I was a kid, or I watched reruns of the original series with my parents, something like
Yeah,
that. It would be
because those
folks who
people
are
were
like,
coming in, to be clear,
yeah.
but not in the rate that they are now.
And like this is not putting any shine on people from older generations like me who love Star Trek and love Star Trek Online. But it's the reality of the business that there's a whole new generation of people out there. And when you introduce them to the science fiction of Star Trek, they go, hey, this is amazing. The idea of a utopian society where humanity gets together and actually solves problems and goes and explores things and asks questions of science and philosophy. I'm interested. I want in. And then here's a new show that's made for you guys, that's made for this generation to have its story. It's the next generation. And so we get that passing of the torch where a new generation gets to come in and enjoy it too. And that is hugely important for the continued survival of Star Trek, whether as a game or as a franchise, a TV series, whatever property you want, even as an idea. That idea has to pass from generation to generation in a way that feels meaningful. That's the spark that really let Star Trek Online continue, is that we carried that torch for several years. And now there's new shows that are lighting more torches and lighting the way for a new generation of fans to join older fans like me and for all of us to love Star Trek. And that means lots of people to love Star Trek Online.
Yeah.
So did I think that it would last for 13 years? I thought that it could. Did I think that it would be as successful as it is today, 10 years ago? How could it be? There wasn't any vision of what we were going to have today.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jesse,
All right. What are we
I,
playing?
I don't know. Well, I was going to jump into the Swarm, I think, because that's the other event one. I don't.
The other event one. Okay.
I know we're friends, but if you want to Teams me your name so I can invite you to a team.
Yeah. Just a second.
Will STO continuity fork from Prime and become its own alternate timeline? That's a discussion we've been having, and we've been having it internally because there were several story plans. For the first, 9 years of our existence, we could just sort of do whatever we want, and CBS was like, "Yeah, that's fine, do it." Nowadays we're running into issues where we say, um, we there's storylines that we want to do and things that we want to do, and we'll get to a certain point. Oops, did not mean to do that. Oh well. We'll get to a certain point, and I sent an invite to a random person. I hope they don't accept. um, but
Or we could just bring them along.
yeah, that's true. We could do that too. Um, but what was I saying? So there's some stuff that we've had along, that we've wanted to do, or that we've gotten far enough in planning, and then Paramount or CBS has said no. So that
Yeah. Witness a
we
certain ship that we just released.
yeah, and so we have a struggle that we have to do. And so there's been some changes very recently. We I don't think it's too big of a deal to say we hired an actor for the next storyline, and then we were going to use the Prime version of that character, and then found out we couldn't use the Prime version of that character, but the actor's contract was already signed, so now we're using the Mirror version of that character, which is great because Paul and Al were able to pivot really quickly and come up with a really cool new story for it. But because of stuff like that, we have been talking about officially saying we're an alternate timeline. The problem is there's still we're learning that that's not going to fix the issue. Even if we are officially an alternate timeline, we could still, if we say, like, hypothetically, because we haven't made any calls to Patrick Stewart lately, so I can say hypothetically, if we wanted to use Patrick Stewart, even if we were an alternate timeline, if Paramount said no, we're using him for this, then we couldn't use him. So it may
Yeah.
not
It
be
doesn't
worth it.
fix the problem.
Yeah. Um,
Right. And
Jesse, I can't find you. I'm trying to send you a friend request. Oh, can I? Is
what's
it
your
one of those
guys'
things where I
name
can't
again?
friend you because you're a Federation player? Is that a thing? Can we not team
Oh
together?
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
We're
Hold on. Let
not
me switch over to
currently.
my Fed guy.
Or no, I can switch to my Klingon character.
Okay.
Yes,
Uh,
folks, I have a multitude of
Kane.
characters and I play them every day.
Yeah. Kane Baker, I am not ignoring you. The reason that mission rewards aren't sets anymore is because lots of things have changed about our game, and one of the things is the amount of time we have to work on rewards.
So while I'm logging in, I'm going to mention an interesting thing about sets in game design. Sets, I think most people remember sets first showing up in the Diablo franchise. And the idea really kind of took game design by storm, and everyone was like, oh, that's a great idea because you give someone a part of a set, and now they're incentivized to get the rest of that set so that they can get all the set bonuses and so on. But there's a problem in game design. When you give someone the thing that has exactly the powers that they want, they have no reason to ever change it. And when you give someone a set of things that gives them a set bonus that is awesome, then you make it really hard to incentivize them to pursue something else. Oh, I already got this three-piece set that does everything that I want. Why would I break my set bonus to get a different weapon or a different shield?
Mm.
So it's actually kind of a challenge in game design spaces to make sets that are interesting and competitive and that give useful set abilities, but don't make the player go, just get this set and then you're done. You never have to go get any gear again. Because then it's like, okay, I got this shield in this set that I use, and then we offer a new shield as part of an upcoming mission reward. And the player goes, why do I want that? I like the set that I have, and it has better bonuses because of the set bonus. So I'm just not going to do the new mission. Well, we want you to play the new mission, and we want you to get the new stuff and go, wow, this is cool. So sets make it harder to do that. This doesn't mean we're never going to do things with sets again, but it means that the amount of work that it takes to do a set and the amount of time a player has to invest to get a set, if they have to play an episode 3 or 4 times, and some episodes that we're doing now can take over an hour to play. That's a lot of work. So we got to make sure that the payoff is worth it. And so
Yeah.
sets aren't always the way to go, it turns out.
Well, and also it turns out
teams you may...
the events that we've been running for the past couple of years
Yeah.
have been getting more engagement than having featured missions did. Just not. People seem to enjoy playing these events with multitude of choices more than running the same mission over and over. Imagine that. So. Okay, it still says unknown user for you.
What's your guy's name?
I'll send it to you. Hold on.
Okay.
Oh, I got that wrong. Hold on. That one would be my fault.
Okay.
There we go. Has a plotline story arc ever been canceled for reasons unrelated to Viacom? Only one that I know of, which is whatever we were going to do, which was only in the very vaguest of terms after Victory is Life, very quickly became Discovery when Discovery got announced.
You a friend tonight?
Okay. Oh, yes, I see it.
Fantastic.
All right. I have accepted. Invite me to a team.
All right.
Oh, apparently if you're listed as anonymous under the Friends tab, I might not be able to add you friends. That could be why.
That would do it.
Okay.
All right.
Now that we are team,
let's fire it up.
Let's do the swarm, baby.
Swarm.
Are you mission? Okay, cool. You got it. Sweet.
Yeah, since I invited you to the team, I'm on the lead there. So here we go.
All right. Could we see a PvP Mike versus Jesse? No. Jesse is much better at this game than I am.
Right? That's why I'm flying a T5 carrier on this character.
I fully believed you would still destroy me in a tier 5 carrier.
All good. I actually really enjoy my Klingon carrier. I like flying carriers. I like other ships too, but I like carriers. So.
I loved carriers a lot until I discovered pilot ships.
Yeah.
I didn't accidentally mute myself, did I? No? Okay. I can still... Looks like it might be turned down a little bit. Yes, you are meant to be seeing the game right now. And you are. What are you talking about? I went and upgraded my ship with the rotary cannon from the Da Vinci, because I had always wanted to try that, so...
How does it feel?
Well, this is my first 10 seconds of using it, so great. Raph Casper wants to know what your favorite kind of ship is and what your favorite ship is and why it's the Jem'Hadar Vanguard carrier.
Actually, my favorite ship changes over time because we have a lot of ships and we release new ships, and I like switching it up occasionally. Right now in this TFO, of course, I'm flying the T5 Vokuv Fleet Vokuv carrier. So you see the big beast flying around. That's me. Um, Over on the Fed side, I've recently been flying. Well, I've been jumping through a bunch of different ships on my Federation Delta Recruit, um, and most recently switched to the New Orleans class. But
Nice.
before that, was using the Appalachia class. I have to go through so many ships to get all the traits unlocked.
Have you learned the glory of just running Argala a bunch?
Oh yes.
Uh,
So yeah, run a bunch of Argala and then do the daily event or play some random TFOs, do a mission.
Preem Chumbo wants to know if you're aware that there's a tier 6 KDF carrier.
Yeah, I'll get around to it. Get off my case, Mom.
You're not my real mom.
I actually used a ship upgrade token to turn this into a Fleet T5X before we released that ship.
Oh, nice. Whoops.
No. Yeah, well, mistakes were made. Won't be the first time that I've done something and then look back and gone, oh.
Did I?
Like any time that I open up a
that?
mission that I made 10 years ago.
I was going to ask, was Bug Hunt one of yours back in the day?
No, that was Kate.
Okay.
Well, she was such a phenomenal designer. I would love to work with her again.
So much. But she's kicking ass on WoW.
She's
right
now working on World of Warcraft, living the dream.
Yeah.
And I will name drop her at a moment's notice because.
Oh yeah, she's
awesome.
great. I miss her.
Yeah.
Can we get a better way to loot, area loot or such? I would love that. I think that's a programming task, and right now our programmers are heavily focused on fixing the VFX stuff for you guys. So.
It is in discussion among the systems team about the possibility of doing a loot overhaul of how you pick up loot, how need greed works, and so on. It is very much in a sort of preliminary discussion stages.
Yeah. Apparently it is once again getting choppy now that I'm showing gameplay, so maybe after this TFO we will not do that for the rest of the evening. I'm not sure what's going on. This doesn't usually occur.
Yeah.
I wish we had an option to purchase Star Trek Online clothing. We do too. It's been talked about a couple of times,
right?
Including a print-on-demand service, but nothing yet. When is the Mothra coming to consoles? When you sing me the entire song, Time Skipper.
Oh, here it comes.
Yeah.
Better see that one.
I got the first
video
verse
for
of
the
it.
next feed. Nice. Just make a TikTok of it, and then we can play it at the next stream.
Yeah. Raph Casper wants to know what your favorite TFO is, Jesse, and why it's Defense of Starbase 1.
Okay, so true story time. I made Defense of Starbase 1 in 3 days.
What?
Yeah. Basically, every once in a while, we will wind up in a hitch where it's like, oops, we realized that we have an event or a promotion or something was just done on the show that we need to address, and we just have to do something and deal with it. And Defense of Starbase was one of those where I said, listen, we really need something here that goes with this discovery stuff, so I can take this and turn it into a TFO real fast. I don't know how fast, but real fast. 3 days later, the first pass of Defense of Starbase 1 was done and went into testing.
That's
I don't recommend doing this.
Pretty fucking incredible. Yeah, I imagine you didn't sleep.
I did some late nights, and yeah, it's not good for your health, mentally or physically. Also, quality controlling stuff that you're doing under those circumstances is rough. Like, if you are really, really tired, it's hard to see that you've made a mistake and there is a terrible, terrible bug. um, there
Was
was, in
there an
fact, a
issue
terrible, terrible bug
with Darth Vader's
internally.
one? I don't remember. Oh, internally. Okay.
Yeah, but it wasn't a content bug, and it was one that we fixed before it launched, and that was there was a change to the code base that was done by one of our senior programmers that was designed to fix certain problems with allegiance and factional stuff under the hood. But it turns out that there's a whole bunch of stuff under the hood that is handled on TFO maps by an invisible critter that basically just acts as a controller for a bunch of things. And this is not uncommon in MMOs, you know. In World of Warcraft, I'm sure you can find a video on YouTube about how everything is handled by invisible bunnies everywhere so that they can pass messages and play effects and whatnot. And there was a change that was made, and suddenly this invisible critter became visible for the purposes of certain kinds of game logic. So when the mission said, "Have you defeated all the enemies?" the game logic would say, "No, this invisible critter is still on the map, and it is not an ally of the players." We couldn't figure out why for so long. Everyone was just pulling their hair if they had any left, biting their nails, going, "What is going on?" And it was actually Jet, as I recall, who tracked it down and basically went down to like, okay, I've got a tool that will show me like every critter that's being logged on the map. I'm going to destroy everything that is visible with a power that destroys everything. No, players, you can't have that. And, and there's still a critter in this list, and I don't know what it is. And then Jet sent that to me, and I was like, I don't know what that critter is either, and I'm not spawning it. And then they sent it to software, and software said, "Oh, we know what that is. Oops."
That reminds me of. By the way, was the critter Loot Critter?
It is not Loot Critter. It's
Okay.
a different thing.
Okay. I one day I will meet Loot Critter. One day I will be fast enough to hit the button. I'm just kidding. I've been fast enough to hit the button before, and it does nothing because you can't actually talk to Loot Critter.
Right.
But that reminds
Anyway.
me of the time that I spawned for a tribble test. I spawned your unkillable Herc monster.
Oh no!
Do you remember that? I spawned like
right.
7 of those, and then it turns
Yeah,
out
the
you
Herc
can't kill them,
mutants.
and they're invisible if you're not on the map. And so players were just
Yep.
getting savaged by invisible monsters. Figured out how to destroy them, thankfully.
Right. Seems like something to keep in mind for Halloween.
Yeah.
Oh, why am I getting savaged by invisible monsters? It's Halloween, yo.
Yeah. That's actually what happens. That's our new AFK penalty. If you AFK too many times, that monster just spawns and follows you around.
Nice. Although that reminds me of another bug on Champions, of all things, that I tried to fix and I was not able to, actually. There was a book you can get, and when you use this book, it summons a demon, and that demon attacks you because, you know, it's hostile, and it spawns in close to the player. Problem is, if you're flying and you spawn it in, the demon doesn't fly, so it just falls. But now it's hostile, so it just starts attacking any players that are in the area.
Oh no!
So you could grief people with this, and I was going to try and set it up to say, okay, so when the demon spawns in, it hard targets the person who used the book that spawned it. But Champions works on a different code base, so I couldn't actually do that.
So does that bug still exist somewhere? Or?
It's a question for Julia, and
Yeah.
I don't really want to encourage people to go to Champions and try and grief people.
Yeah.
I would suspect that Julia figured out a fix for it because she is very smart at Champions engine.
Yes, she is indeed. My favorite random Champions bug is that when there's a teddy bear that is just a teddy bear that just sits on the ground. NPC doesn't. It's an inanimate teddy bear, and if too much like it's something to do with like memory or something. If the server hasn't been reset in long enough, the bug will cause that teddy bear to come alive and start running around and teleporting around the map.
Oh my gosh, we had a bug like that early in development of Fallout 1.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, okay. Gaming horror stories. So very early on, when Tim Kaine was working on the combat sequencer and Chris Jones and the other programmers, there were only a few test weapons in the game. And the way that the combat sequencer basically worked is it says, okay, when you start a combat, the player is rolled into initiative. Any monster that might have already aggroed is also rolled into initiative. And then anyone who takes damage gets rolled in as well. So they're testing the 10 millimeter submachine gun, the one that Ian famously shoots you in the back with. And Tim burst fires at a rat on the Vault 13 cave map, and he misses, and it ray traces the bullets, and it hits the cave wall behind the rat. And the combat sequencer says, okay, the bullets hit the wall and do X damage to it, but the sequencer, the animation sequencer, treats it as a critter. So then it passes back, well, this wall is a creature. Give it an initiative order. What are its stats? Well, we're going to look up some junk memory that's tied up to the info on this thing because it's looking at the wrong pointers because it's an object, not a critter. And then the wall starts moving across the battlefield and wreaking havoc on people.
Oh, God, I wish I could see that. That sounds amazing.
Oh, yes.
Will there be an option to participate in multiplayer mode, be able to teleport in between ships? I'm not sure what you're asking there, Ashley. Sorry. If you're asking if you can visit other players' ship interiors, you can do that currently. You just have to ask them to invite you to their ship.
All right, we did it.
Hooray! We're amazing. Look at us and our amazingness.
High fives.
Yes. All right. Well, this has been super fun, Jesse. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm glad you got to bust out some playing as well and show us all your amazing Tier 5 ship.
She should be hauled away as garbage.
If you folks have enjoyed listening to Jesse wax philosophical, I highly recommend following him on Twitter. That his Twitter handle is his name that you can see right there.
For however long Twitter lasts.
Yeah, it's true. He often posts amazing long threads about game design, so it's absolutely worth a follow. But I am going to find us a person to raid. And while I'm doing that, Jesse, tell them a knock-knock joke.
A knock-knock joke?
Yes, I specified this time.
Oh, man, you're making it hard for me because I had a random joke ready.
Oh, you have a random joke? Okay, go do your random joke. I have a random joke ready. Do your random
joke. Okay, what's the greatest thing about Sweden?
What? I don't know. What's the greatest thing about Sweden?
I don't know either, but the flag is a big plus.
Ryan is so proud of you right now. I just want you to know how deeply proud of you Ryan is. Okay, let me find somebody. Let's see. I'm trying to remember, who did I raid last week, guys? Because apparently the person I raided last week was like, hey, 3 weeks in a row, and I don't want to keep raiding the same person over and over. So let me know. People are saying ban Jesse.
Yeah, they're not wrong.
Yeah, people are suggesting click on Pop Warrior. That's a good raid. She's
good
great.
Call. Good call.
All right. All right. Well, folks, as we get ready for this raid, I will say a thank you so much, and I will see you all. Well, actually, I don't think I will see you. Is next week Thanksgiving week? Yeah, it is. We have the week off.
Yeah.
So I won't see you next week, but I will see you in 2 weeks. Have a great one, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Be great to each other. Bye-bye.
Yay, frosty bug hunters.